My guest today is Keith Casey. Keith, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. What do you do?
I'm a developer evangelist with Twilio.
Twilio. You know, I've been hearing a lot about Twilio, but I'm not really sure exactly what it is. What is it?
Twilio is a platform for plugging applications into the telephone network. I don't mean like iOS, Android sort of SDK sort of thing. I mean like actually interacting with the phone system, being able to send text messages, make phone calls, or receive and react to phone calls and text messages.
You said a platform. So this is a service that you provide, and people write code, or what? How does that work exactly?
Yes, we're a platform as a service. So if you want to send a text message, you make an API HTTP request to us. So just as simple as you'd send an email, you can send a text message.
So you say platform as a service. You're hosting the service.
Yes.
I don't install anything locally to get to Twilio. I just subscribe to your service, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And what are those calls? Are REST calls? What kind of restful things can I do?
REST is one of the big loaded words. If you actually look around about like RESTful APIs, we're considered one of the best out there because we are very careful about how we implement POST and GET and PUT and everything to make sure we follow a lot of the core REST principles. So our API is very consistent, it's very uniform, it's very predictable. So we sort of have the hypermedia API sort of perspective where if you make a request at the root of our API, you can actually get a list of all the resources. So you can crawl the entire API from the beginning of it.
Oh, meaning I could get a REST request to submit an HTTP request to retrieve the rest of the API and then use that to make the rest of my calls.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, give me an example of how a customer is using your platform.
Let's see, we have groups like Airbnb, for example, that uses it for when you register on the site and you want to talk to somebody that you're looking to rent a property from. You can go ahead and you can click and call through and talk to them. And the cool thing is they use a Twilio phone number, and that Twilio phone number just acts as a proxy to the person's actual phone number. So you dial the Twilio phone number, it just transparently behind the scenes routes to that person. So they don't have to give you their phone number. They give you a Twilio number, and it all handles behind the scenes.
That seems like a real simple thing. It's kind of like Google Voice type thing.
Yes, exactly.
All right, but your applications get a lot more complex than that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's step up. What's another cool thing that's a little bit more complex?
Actually, I do a demo where I implement Google Voice in about 10 minutes during a presentation. But some of the more advanced things is, since we're an API, when a phone call comes in, we can take a lot of the information about the call and post it to you. And we basically say, here's an HTTP post, now what do we do with it? And you generate some TWIML, it's the business logic back to us, telling us what to do. TWIML, it's Twilio XML.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fun thing is that we can integrate with a lot of like customer relationship management systems. So we work with call centers that do things like when you call in, if you have an open trouble ticket with somebody else, instead of routing you to some random customer service agent, it'll send you back to the person you talked to last time. So now you don't have to, based on your phone number, the caller ID. Okay. So you don't have to constantly re-explain your problem. They can get on the phone, they can say, oh, Dave, we talked yesterday. Here's a status update on your problem.
And you can bring that record up on the screen.
Absolutely.
That application has an API.
Yes, and we integrate with Salesforce and Sugar CRM and all those sorts of things.
Okay. What about, I forgot what this is called, where you press 1 for a human being and press 2 to be routed infinitely into voicemail.
We don't encourage that, but yeah, that's called IVR, interactive voice response. And so you can, a lot of systems you call in and you dial like a credit card number, your account number, or something like that. So
done well, it's actually a good service.
Oh yeah,
Done well.
And what really frustrates me is when you call various companies and you have to put in your account number over and over and over again, and then you finally get to the guy and they say, "What's your account number?" It drives me up a wall. So using us, a lot of people go to the caller ID information and then they go to that. So we've had a number of customers that implement us so that when the customer service agent actually answers the phone, it pops your information. They can say, "Oh, hi, Dave. We see you have a problem with this," or we got your order yesterday. It ships tomorrow. Did you have any questions on that?
So I see that today's your birthday.
Yeah, you could do stuff like that, and it's all about sort of making the customer service relationship like that much not calmer, but smoother, more transparent, more actionable. So you can sort of more personable. That's a huge thing. I mean, I have a pretty firm perspective that marketing and sales builds customers. Customer service loses customers. So if you can smooth out that process and make everyone happier, you win.
I think that's only true actually because people don't call customer service until they have a problem. So you already got a strike against you as soon as the relationship starts. So I want to make clear that your service doesn't really solve any of those problems. It provides an interface or an application developer could use that to solve those problems, right? Is that fair?
Yes,
Okay.
we're a tool in the toolbox.
Okay.
Yeah. So just like you might use email to do status updates on something, you can do text messages or phone calls to do the same thing.
All right. What's your revenue model? You charge a monthly fee or per call, or what is that?
It's all pay-per-use. So when you use us, you purchase a phone number through us, and it works sort of like an IP address for routing and stuff like that. And then you pay per text message or per minute. So text messages 1 cent a minute or 1 cent each in or out, and then phone calls are 1 cent a minute in, 2 cents a minute out, and we cover all of North America and something like 150 some countries at this point. So most of the world.
Do you know anything about the technology that's underlying this service?
I know bits and pieces about it.
Is it a .NET application? Is it a Unix application, or anything like that?
Well, actually, that's one of the interesting things. Is originally it was Asterisk based.
I don't know what that is.
Asterisk is a phone system that's it's an open source system built by, I think, Digium, but it ties actually into the phone network with.
It's an operating system built specifically for the phone?
Yeah, along those lines, yeah. And it's a Linux-based system that actually interacts with the phone system. You get phone cards and all this other stuff to actually interact with it. But Asterisk is a great business solution, but it's not really built for the sort of traffic we push through it. So over time, first we implemented PHP on top of it to add some additional pieces, and then we've been steadily replacing that with Python because it's the whole thing of asynchronous interactions, because phone calls are asynchronous. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's all event-driven as opposed to sort of request-response sort of stuff.
Is that sitting on top of an Apache web server, or does that just provide as part of the operating system?
That's a really good question. I couldn't tell you there.
Oh.
I just don't know.
Fair enough.
But we're entirely Amazon AWS-based.
AWS-based, meaning that you're using your servers are hosted in Amazon's cloud.
Yes, yes. 2 of our 3 founders are actually early architects to Amazon,
Okay.
so we've got some fantastic relationships there.
Okay, well that sounds scalable.
Oh, yeah, it's actually very scalable. There's a post that keeps coming up every time Amazon, like EC2 or AWS, goes down in general, and it's how Twilio survived the AWS apocalypse, and that comes up.
How do you?
We're not dependent on any one sort of data center. So just the inherent nature of any sort of cloud system is you have to be prepared for that cloud to sort of disappear at any given time.
Okay.
And so our architecture is very fault tolerant in that things are rerouted very quickly. And so we're bounced across a couple different data centers. We have a variety of monitoring systems that go ahead and make sure that everything works smoothly.
Interesting. Okay, so if Godzilla steps on one of their data centers, you're covered.
Well, we haven't tested that, but we believe so, yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
And what's your role in the company?
I'm considered a developer evangelist, so I'm based out of Austin, Texas, and my job is to, for lack of a better term, it's developer marketing. So I'm the marketing guy that actually steps in front of developers and can write code and say, here's why the system makes sense, here's what it's useful for, and let me show you code to actually make that happen.
That sounds like a fun job.
It's a blast. It's an absolute blast. I love my job.
And I don't want this to end before I congratulate you on this thing you just won. Tell us a little about that.
So we just we're at that conference, and we just participated in a thing called the Battle Decks, which is when they come up with 10 slides, and nobody that's presenting has actually seen the slides before, and they just go through them. And so every 30 seconds, a slide transitions, and you have no clue what's coming up. So they give you a title for the presentation, just say, go. And it was a challenge, but it was lots of fun. So I actually tied for first place.
And you won a tent.
Yes, I won a tent and 2 drink tickets. So, hey, there you go. I'm not going to argue too
Make
much.
some friends with that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, actually, that's part of the reason I think I won is before the competition actually started, the instructions and the rules said you could bribe the judges.
And you did.
Yeah, so I did. So before anything started, I went up and I bought 4 beers from the bar. And I sat at my table and waited. And then when they called me up, I went, and when I came on stage, I went ahead and delivered a beer to each judge.
You spent 4 beers to win 2 drinks, but you got a tent out of it, so it's sort of a wash.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think it was cost effective, if that's what you're asking
The
about.
honor and the glory.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, it's bragging rights for at least the next 10 minutes.
Keith, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, this is Keith, and I'm back. I just want to say that one of the fun things about a lot of these conferences is that even though whether they're focused on a technology or not, a lot of these things end up being a reunion, almost a family reunion, where a bunch of friends can get together and have a blast and sort of get away from the daily grind of things. So thanks, enjoy.